I'm Breaking 3, it's really good.
I immediately called 911. They sent 2 special agents to my dorm the next day. I told them everything and gave them my computer. They told me they knew of the site and had been trying to access it for years.
Introducing the new GE Small Appliance Collection. Because your small appliances shouldn't.
Since the incident,
God, we're 1,000 blocks away. This is gonna take forever to get back home. I'm gonna write down the code to the portal after I get some more.
You can watch another scary animation here. Also, don't forget to subscribe and to hit that notification bell to stay tuned for future videos.
To be perfectly honest, I was never into all that dark web stuff. I mean, it's interesting enough and all, but I never had the patience nor technological know-how to figure out how to use it productively. In fact, my whole family seems to be missing the technology genes. We struggle with everything from computers and phones to toasters and microwaves. My mother even got scammed a few times before she passed away. Luckily, she never lost anything more than a few $100. I'm still stunned. Francis, my best friend, on the other hand, was a tech whiz. He loved that stuff and never shied away from looking up the most bizarre and horrific things online. If he could reach it, he would. He even tried to set up a Tor browser on my computer once, but I just ended up ignoring it, somehow deleting the shortcut and losing track of where he placed it. Still, he periodically sent me pictures from Alphabet, which is apparently some dark web black market.
How the hell did I just survive that?
Other times he'd find impossible random conspiracies. It was usually weird and funny stuff. But sometimes he'd send me darker things. Pictures of murder victims. Videos displaying horrific car crashes and other accidents. It made me appreciate our friendship a little less, but Francis was all round a good guy, albeit an eccentric one. We stuck together. On the rare occasions that he crossed a line, I just politely asked him to stop, which would work for a while. Then after the shock had worn off, he'd send more stuff he found on the dark web. It would always start off so innocent, with funny pictures or forums. But it inevitably got darker, escalating to more disturbing areas of the dark web. The most horrific thing he ever sent me, however, was little more than a picture of myself, found randomly out there in the sea of onion sites. It was just a screenshot he'd sent, with a picture of myself and some text lined up next to it. In a way, it looked like a profile for some sort of social media page. But it was plain, simple, and seemingly pointless. It contained my name, birth date, address, everything. "I'm so sorry, Tyler. I didn't know how they found you," Francis sent me as a message. "What do you mean? Who are they? What's going on?" I asked back in a flood of questions. "Did you open any suspicious emails or sign up for something weird online?" I tried to think back. I couldn't remember anything that stood out. But in my business, I dealt with hundreds of emails each day from various clients. "I don't know, Francis. What's going on?" "Your name is on Alicia, listed as a participant. What the hell is Alicia?" "The Red Room. It was supposed to be closed down, but it's back." I chuckled at his remark. I wasn't much of a tech genius, but even I knew Red Rooms were little more than myths told to scare teenagers and gullible adults. "Come on, man, this is a joke, right? Red Rooms aren't real." "I think this one is." After that, I'd reached the maximum amount of Francis antics that I could handle. I told him to back off and leave me alone for a bit, which had become somewhat of a routine between the two of us. Still, I took his warning serious enough to dial the non-emergency line to the police. I explained the situation, but they didn't take it seriously. After all, my personal information leaked on a website shouldn't have been much of a threat. They just told me to call back if anything more substantial happened. I went about my week and nothing came of the mysterious website. Francis even admitted he might have overreacted a tad. The truth is, throwing it away as I should have, I decided to contact Francis. He was more intrigued than worried, showing up about 15 minutes later to help me connect to the website. He only needed about a second to kick open the Tor browser and input the onion he was receiving. Shit, he mumbled as the title of the site popped up. It was Alicia. That's the site that has my name? He asked to be sure. Francis nodded. A few seconds passed as the site loaded, before a black video player popped up in the center of the screen.
Get crazy with color. All new budget balloons. Crazy colored self-sealing water balloons. More color, more fun.
Alright, so I wrote down the end chords.
It didn't have a timer or anything else to let us know the duration of the video. Instead, it just had a play button. Francis clicked it. Though it was too dark to see what was going on, I could hear something in the background. Turn up the volume, he said. Francis did as commanded, and we were greeted with the muffled sounds of someone struggling. It was quiet, just loud enough to make out what was going on without understanding the hidden context. Then it got brighter, just enough to make out the walls and ceiling of a small room. In the center lay a man tied to a bed with chains, his face obscured by a bag pulled over his head. What the hell is this? I asked. It's a red room. Turn that shit off. Francis was reluctant to oblige, whether it be due to curiosity or shock. Before I could reach out and turn it off myself, a man entered the picture. He was naked, with his bare chest covered in old scars and fresh blood. He pulled the mask off of the tied-up man and let out a loud gasp. What is it? Francis said. I pointed a trembling finger towards the screen. That's Mr. Dawson, my boss. You're sure? I nodded. Is this a live stream or something? No, I don't think so. As far as I know, you can't live stream on the dark web. It has to be a recording. I wanted so desperately just to turn it off and call the police. We were both frozen in our seats. The naked man pulled out a knife from a bag on the ground and started peeling off pieces of skin from Dawson's leg. I tried to scream in agony, but he was gagged. Left unable to move, even call for help. Little by little, the man cut off pieces of flesh from Dawson, pushing his way from the legs to the torso. I can't say exactly how long the video went on for. It skipped minutes at the time, showing Dawson with progressively more mutilated stages of the torture. It wasn't until his skin had been almost completely removed before he lost consciousness. I threw up, finally snapping back to reality as the screen turned black. Francis sat speechless in his chair. What could we do? Dawson had to have been dead by the time we even opened the link. Naturally, I called the police, gave them all the information about the website that I had. But by the time the police got around to checking it out, the video was gone. Once it had been viewed, it was simply removed. They believed us, though, saying that they'd forward the information to the appropriate sources, which turned out to be the FBI. There was little more I could do. Without solid evidence that my boss had actually died, he was just reported missing while the investigation went on. He was questioned by various officers and an FBI agent a couple of times, but that was about it. A year passed. My life went on. My place of work just hired a new manager, and Dawson's disappearance remained an unsolved mystery. I fully believed that would be the end of it. checked out the link in your envelope. Found a video like the one you described last time. We've taken some still shots of the footage. I'd like it if you could help identify the victim. I shuddered at the thought, but agreed to help. Vance guided me into a room full of computers. A group of office workers sat in front of one, staring at a picture, trying to figure out who the person was. I didn't need to analyze it any further, because I knew exactly who it was. Francis. He looked absolutely horrified. A still picture showing him clearly alive. For how long that would last, I didn't know. Is he? I began to ask. He didn't survive, I'm sorry. Vance interjected. How did he die? It's better you don't know the details, but we're going to catch this guy, I promise you that much. Again, we went over each and every detail. They promised over and over they'd do everything in their power to chase down the people who did it, and to keep me safe. But as weeks turned into months, no culprit was caught. Eventually, I stopped working. Instead, I just hid at home, afraid that anyone remotely close to me might be next. I didn't have much in terms of family. No siblings. My parents had long since died. I suppose that made me an easy target for the runners of the Red Room. Despite the FBI's best efforts, the letters kept coming with random intervals. My ex-girlfriend was the next victim. Though we'd broken up a few years earlier, we remained friendly. Again, I got the link to a video of her brutal murder. I just forwarded it to the FBI, unable to stomach another horror show. Then they took one of my old co-workers. One by one, they killed the people I knew and loved, and I could do nothing to stop it. I couldn't even contact the culprits and ask what the hell they wanted from me. Then it hit me. I was being tortured. And while it wasn't physical like the others, it was still mental torture. Like the horrors they committed to my friends. The pain wouldn't end until I was dead. Maybe that's what they so desperately wanted. For me to kill myself. Maybe it was some sort of sick game to see how long I could last. I sat down in front of my computer, ready to give up. If there was even the slightest chance that it would save lives, I had to do it. I looked up the best ways to do it, but in the end, I decided to go for the gun. I picked it up, pressed it against my temple. It felt like hours passed. I just couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger, without letting every possible scenario run through my mind. Then the phone rang. I almost dropped the gun in shock. I glanced at my phone to see a call incoming from an unknown number. Hello? I asked as I picked it up. Not like that, a twisted robotic voice said from the other side. Like what? Who are you? You need to record it properly, the voice continued. Whoever they were using some kind of voice-changing software to make them unrecognizable. How did you... I began before noticing the camera on my computer. Of course they've been watching. I didn't even need to ask. I just stared at the camera, and the mysterious person on the other end confirmed. That's right. We've been watching. I felt my heart drop. So all I have to do is kill myself and the suffering ends? Face the camera when you do it. You have 15 minutes, or the next person will be taken. I didn't have any other options. I can't let anyone else die because of me. Just pray that once I'm gone, they'll finally stop.
Thanks for watching. You can watch
Thanks for watching. This story was real. Thanks for watching. Just imagine this guy's last moment that he somehow documented. And thanks for watching. You can click on another video. I don't know why I see that so funny. That's funny. More of this shit. Okay. don't really know what I want to do right now. I kind of want to beat the game, which I really can't. 3 God Apples, Totem of Undying. I'll be good, but I'm just not sure what I want to do right now. Like, if I want to finish the game, if I want to just relax for a little bit before I go to the end. I think the faster we do it, the faster I can just go back to sleep for another week. Oh, that's why I keep forgetting. I wanted to say, I'm sorry for being gone so long, especially because I said tomorrow we will be finishing the game. I just couldn't upload. Like, first I got sick, so I had to delay it for that. Then I just got first I got really tired of uploading, so I decided, forget, I'll upload something tomorrow. And I kept doing that until I got sick, so I couldn't record it when I did finally want to kind of record it.
Searching the forums. I put out a dozen offers on different sites, offering my services for any sort of financial backing. Maybe I was a little drunk, not thinking straight, but I felt that I had just to make this project happen. A day or so later, I wasn't getting any hits. No one was taking an interest. It made me feel like a failure. If I couldn't even get seedy underworld pros to talk to me about my games, what chance did I stand in the real market?
What is the elephant in the room for your family? My mom and brother have a very Norman Bates-esque relationship and we never speak about it. He's 20, and she still bathes him. God help me for saying this out loud. My half-sister was raped often by her father. He took her virginity and passed her around his friends. He's now out of the picture, but having my mother and sister in the same room is very tense. Apparently my mother had no idea what was happening. All happened way before I was born, and mom feels incredibly guilty. No one on my father's side likes my mother, her. My sister and I have no idea why. She put in more work for the family than most of the uncles and aunts. She takes care of my father's father since my father died. Recently, they didn't invite her to the baptism of my cousin's kid. My mother is my cousin's godmother. My mother is amazingly nice, but she's going to explode off him one day. I hope I'm around to see it and back her up. Yes, same with my family. Though when my dad's parents died, it kind of brought everyone together and everyone is nice now. Moral of the story, kill the grandparents. Everyone in my family knows my dad plans to divorce my stepmom, but he is just getting things in a row before he kills them. Makes family dinners awkward, because she has no idea. One of my aunts is adopted. She is almost 70 years old and has no idea. Everyone else in the family knows that it was my grandma's dying wish that we never tell her. It's pretty freaked up, to be honest. I bet she knows and is just going along with things. My grandma forced my aunt to have an abortion when she was 16. It went terribly wrong, and she was never able to have kids. My grandma did it because she didn't want her daughter to have a child with a sleazeball. 35 years later my aunt is married to said sleazeball. My grandma felt with her guilt by spoiling the crap out of my aunt's adopted daughter. Just wow. Been up and down the whole list. This one's the saddest I feel. That I was emotionally and physically abused by my mother's second husband for 10 years, not sexually. Thank God. Everyone saw it happening. Aunts and uncles kept their kids away from our house, and yet no one did a thing. For the last 20 years, everyone has pretended that nothing happened and my mother is still the favorite sister in the family, despite allowing her kid to be abused for the entirety of her marriage. That makes me so angry for you. My uncle used to be openly gay and very active in the gay community, but now he's super Christian and denies everything. Mike Pence approves of this message. Stepfather got belligerently drunk during our vacation in Paris, insulted my wife and I, causing us to leave the restaurant as he made a scene, and he has never apologized. Just pretend he was the waiter, a normal thing in Paris. My younger half-sister, who is 11, believes that my dad's wife is her actual birth mom when she really is not. She was the nanny that was cheating with my dad and the real mom took off when my sis was an infant. My dad swore us to secrecy, but I think it's fricked up. Last 4th of July, one of my younger cousins, 8/F, pushed my great-aunt's beloved elderly dad into their pool and he drowned. Everyone knows she did it. She even says she did it because she was angry about having to get out of the pool for dinner. her to talk to someone because this tiny human is full of anger, but they refuse to see any issue.
A little bit over 100 ? It is pretty rare. Only like 2 have ever been sold with this kind.
This most recent
I think I listed it for 150, but I would definitely go lower.
4th of July was awkward as frick. That my sister is the black hole in our family. Anytime it's just me, my oldest sister and our parents, it's so nice and pleasant and nobody has to walk on eggshells and we can be a functional family. Anytime my sister is in the mix, there's walking on eggshells constantly to avoid upsetting her and my parents bend over to with raising her instead of enforcing boundaries. She's extremely manipulative and opinionated and will butt into your business and has something to say about everything you do. I honestly...
Yeah, I don't think I really want to sell it for 80. That's just a little bit too low, you know, ? Is there any other figures that you'd be willing to spend a little bit over 100 for, ?
Wish she didn't exist. She's just a drain on everyone. My oldest sister and I have distanced ourselves away from her because of her crappy attitude. Now that's pretty much my older sister Hannah. We all have a great time, but the moment she shows up it's as if someone sucked all the fun and happiness from the room. My previously reclusive 70-year-old grandfather has inexplicably and very suddenly started reaching out, visiting family, and calling to check in on everyone. The elephant is that nobody knows why and we all know he's too proud to tell us, so we can't tell if he's terminal or if he's just shaking himself out of the half-century of doldrums he put himself in. In either case he seems to want to make up for all the time he spent ignoring and avoiding his family. I come from a big-ish, and fairly close, Indian family. We have one household in the family that stands out a bit against the rest of us, but there is one thing that stands out as the elephant in the room. Of the 4 kids my aunt and uncle had, one just happens to be black. We don't know what happened, and no one really talks about it. Some members of our family suspect infidelity, as my uncle is blind. But again, no one knows and we never really bring it up around any other members of that household. He is probably one of the nicest people in our whole family. He'll call whenever just to say hi, which can't be said of his siblings. Always ends a conversation with love your fam or something along those lines. And whenever I visit he always goes above and beyond all expectations to make sure I enjoy myself. Their whole family dynamic has a bit screwed up though, and certain events in their family are also sort of elephants in the room. For example, we don't really talk about how the cousin I mentioned here was stabbed by his brother. Being from India, I was expecting an actual elephant in the room. That said, having a black son but being blind...
It's the 5% version.
Sounds straight up from some sort of 90s comedy or Dave Chappelle's sketch. My parents are functioning alcoholics. Don't get me wrong. They love my siblings and I. They work hard, they're responsible, and they're the best people I know. But goddamn do they like to drink. I thought I could drink, being straight out of college. After a year of living with my parents.
Damn it, of course. Okay, Boomer sells while I'm not online.
It's a little awkward because my
5 minutes ago, I really wish I didn't stream. I wish I just camped the Mercari website.
Whenever we all get together.
It's fine.
My parents too. My dad finally owned up to his crap when I was 14 and got some help. Which makes it even more of an elephant that we don't talk about the fact that my mother drinks 2 bottles of wine a night. She gets really stupid and really verbally abusive when she is drunk, but everyone just ignores it. My aunt and uncle are insanely religious and shouted the heck out of their children. They were very critical of the way the rest of the parents in the family raised their children. They harassed my mom often over her. Yeah, I'm going to promote it by making it cheaper and cheaper every day. How much would you be willing to spend right now? ? Allowing us to do such worldly things, such as going to school, reading non-religious books, watching secular movies, or being allowed to use, gasp, the internet. Their children were not allowed to do these things. Therefore, they would grow up to be godly people as opposed to the delinquents my mother would be raising. I did turn out to be the only atheist in the family, but far from delinquent. Their son started dating a girl that just happened to be pregnant. He was adamant that she was pregnant before they started seeing each other and that he just loved her so much. He decided he'd step in and raise the child as his own. They married and a baby boy was born about 6 months later. We were all a little shocked at how much the baby looked like him. Conveniently, he got to skip the adoption process by putting his name on the birth certificate. And oddly enough, no baby daddy drama has occurred with the biological father that no one seems to know. As he got older, it was really hard to imagine the baby was not his. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell their childhood pictures apart. He has very distinct features. I get the feeling we all know the truth. Knowing glances are exchanged but no one speaks a word. I'm not sure if it's a lie my aunt and uncle are in on. Maybe they feel like they're saving face with the rest of the family after being so vocal about how perfectly they were parenting their kids. Or maybe he just feels way too intimidated by them and their expectations to be truthful. Either way, it makes me sad that he is so bound up in their rules and laws that he can't honestly claim his own son. And I really can't imagine that my aunt can hold her first grandchild and not have flashbacks when she looks at that face. Hopefully they don't tell the kid that lie. That would be really fricked up. My dead boyfriend. Last summer, I discovered that my boyfriend was heavily into HUs. I told my family about it. I left him. He went through about...
Well, comma, I hope that you're able to get an exclamation point.
6 months of rehab, and, after 6 months, 3 weeks and 1 day of sobriety, he dead and died. He and I had started to slowly work on a relationship again when he died. I was devastated. My parents and my brother absolutely refused to acknowledge the situation. I've tried to talk to my mother about it and she has said that she doesn't want to talk about it. My brother changes the topic. My father walks away. My extended family has all been extremely supportive and loving. My immediate family would prefer to just pretend it didn't happen. I'm sorry for your loss. That my sister is in an abusive marriage with an alcoholic, but nobody says anything because my parents think that it's better to be in an abusive relationship rather than get a divorce. Whenever my uncle is there, it's kind of awkward. He's the black sheep of my mom's side of the family, your typical negligent father. But we all pretend as if he didn't abandon his family and that his family doesn't hate all of us for simply being related to him. I have an uncle who would show up with random kids, 6 and under. We thought they were playmates of his kids. They were his kids. I have no idea how many cousins I have from my childhood. My wife and I were visiting my parents. My brother and his wife were also visiting. My mom got drunk. She walked into the room. It's okay that you marry white women as long as you are happy. But when you get divorced, you should marry some good Korean women. The day after, my brother and I told her she needs to apologize to our wives. She never did and denies it happened. Haven't talked about it since. But you can tell my mother remembers. My cousin is going on kid number 3 and neither her nor the deadbeat husband. They're not married. Do any real job of taking care of said kids. No one wants to address it. No one wants to call social services. I'd do it if I knew where they lived. But they've been evicted so many times I've lost count. It's just the same Olay song and dance every major holiday or family gathering. She and her piece of crap husband come over. The kids look like crap. They eat like they haven't eaten in weeks. Grandparents coddle the kids and pretend this will all work itself out someday. It's not going to work itself out, but God forbid we actually ask if this is the best interest of the children. Gam would have a heart attack. You've got to call CPS. Those poor kids are probably being abused, underfed, live in a dirty home, etc. Find out the address and get those poor kids some help. No one really enjoys being around my sister's kids. Straight brats. Hey, they're just kids. They might be gay brats and not know it. I was molested by my grandfather as a child. It was taken care of in the old family sort of way, everyone distancing themselves and leaving him isolated for the most part, but it's never been talked about at large. They just backed off and let him die alone. I don't know if that's supposed to be enough or if I wanted some sort of justice, but it feels wrongly handled. I went to her Phil's funeral just to make sure he's dead, after abusing one of her daughters years ago. Rumor is, she stuck a big hat pin in his arm. My whole family is convinced I'm gay. No matter how much I've expressed I'm not, I gave up and developed a pretty good lisp to play along. I swear I read a post on here about a user whose mom thought he was gay even though he wasn't. So he would always invite girls over for sleepovers, which his mother found harmless because she thought he was gay and he'd bang the heck out of the girls. Might be worth a try. My grandparents always said they got married before my oldest uncle was born. Shotgun wedding when they were 18 and 20. Turns out, my uncle was born 6 weeks before their wedding date. They lied to everyone. One of my aunts found their real wedding certificate after Grandma passed away and told us all except their uncle. His nickname behind his back is Uncle Bastard. He's a big gold redneck ass bag, so I don't even feel bad for that. Old Uncle Bastard sounds like an awesome nickname. My two eldest cousins are most likely not my uncle's children. They look very little like their father and our family, but a lot like their mother and her current husband. My husband is adopted, everyone knows. But once his one cousin made a remark to me that my husband is not really a insert his last name here. I glared at him until he got uncomfortable and walked away from me. I didn't tell my husband, but a big chunk of his family saw the exchange. I refused to invite that asshole to my house or go to any event at his place. Literally no one blames me, but my husband gets a bit confused. My dad is the middle child. His older brother has a different father than he does, and his younger brother has the same father he does. Supposedly, it's pretty obvious to everybody in our family that my grandmother is lying about that, and that my dad's younger brother has the same father as his older brother. One of my cousins is in jail for nearly murdering a little girl at a gas station. No one but my
Stop, Arrow! Why is my boat always doing that?
knew about it. My brother only found out because he ran a Google search after she had told us our cousin was at church camp for the 5th year in a row. We do not ever discuss it and let her live her lie. I guess it makes her feel better to deny the truth. My older brother sexually abused me when I was 7 and 8. Everyone knows. But I'm the one creating tension by choosing not to be a part of any event he attends or have any contact. I see my parents on off days rather than holidays because he gets those so they can see his children. Doesn't bother me after so many years. But every once in a while a family member randomly asks if we could have a real holiday this year with everyone in attendance. I want to say he gonna try to sodomize me, because I didn't particularly enjoy it last time. I don't. I just say I have other commitments. Not getting sodomized is one of them. Frick them. Seriously, if they side with a rapist, you don't need them. A lot of my family members are notorious philanderers, so some of my younger cousins, uncles, aunts, etc. are illegitimate children from those various dalliances and flings. It makes family reunions nightmares because the legit family members, though they'll try to be polite, are really rude to the others. Philanderes and dalliances. What? My parents love my sister more than me. My sister is both of their biological child. I'm only my mother's. My mother and sister hang out, go shopping, and routinely just talk
You're
all
fucking
day.
big.
My stepfather
Again?
talks and plays with her as well. They never engage me unless I engage them. They also were behind her all the way up to getting her driver's license, asking her if she wanted to use their cars, taking her to the test, and all of that stuff. Meanwhile, have never spoken to me about assistance with pretty much anything.
I'm fucking done. This shit is impossible.
They drove her to work every
Stop
day when she
killing
lived
me!
right down the street. Maybe a 15 to 20 minute walk.
God,
I, on the other
Jesus.
hand, like 20 minutes to work every day. I believe most of this is my lack of motivation, and her having motivations. So they just are more proud of her. So they treat her better.
Shut up, you stupid dragon.
It's my aunt's attempted suicide to get away from my physically and emotionally abusive uncle. Uncle is a blood relative. She did survive, but she said she doesn't regret trying. Just regrets that it didn't work. We never had any clue before. Only ever saw them briefly at holidays, and they'd always leave after a short walk to go see
Oh.
I feel for your aunt. I last year after 2 years of constant emotional
What?
abuse.
Come on, give it.
There was
Yeah.
Signs that no one picked
Fuck
up.
you.
I also don't regret it and
Is it that one?
been successful.
We'll just do this
My life
one
has
right now.
always been a struggle no matter what I do, and I'm just really, really exhausted.
Wow, you really are a bitch.
Flapping their ears in the breeze at every family gathering. My maternal grandmother owned a brothel for almost 40 years. My mother spent time in prison before she met my father. My aunt's husband is a butthole who makes sexually colored jokes in front of the kids and treats my aunt like a bank and controls her money even though she earns a majority of their income. But no one says anything to him to his face. Talk plenty behind his back in order to keep the peace at family events and holidays. It's also my mom who sets them up. So the offers to set me up are definitely not wanted.
Oh.
My mum's parents are very religious. Always have been.
Come on.
Like
I made
crazy,
that.
but
That's
this
stupid. Okay.
we had a birthday party
Okay, last
for my
one.
aunt, and when she told her how old she was, I did the math. Turns out she was conceived out of wedlock. No one was happy when I announced to her. I have made like that. He comes from a very Indian family, so obviously sex talk etc is a no-go. However, he told us about his parents' wedding anniversary and how they were celebrating their 20th or something. My mate's older. I don't think he's figured it out, but everyone in our friend circle knows. Mum walked out on Dad on his 60th birthday and moved to Alaska with a college boyfriend. He died from the stress not long after. She refuses to acknowledge that he ever existed, or certainly that his death was a result of acknowledge the heartbreak my sister and I are dealing with. It's as if their 30-plus year marriage never existed. I am rushing leaving home after reading this. I'm sorry that happened to you. My uncle's wife has ran off with his cousin like 9 times. He keeps taking her back. I hate having to be polite to her at family gatherings. And now she keeps messing around with his violet and it's putting their kids at risk. The eldest
Why are you still mad at me?
more than once or He's shown up to multiple family functions drunk and even started his family vacation intoxicated. He's he just got caught up in the wrong crowd. It's pretty sad that he's slowly getting better. Also, my brother and his husband. They're a big right-wing Christian family. That's not so much an elephant in the room as much as it is just a controversial part of our family. It's good now though. It took me a minute to figure out what was wrong with my brother and his husband. The fact that I never told my parents I had a child with one of my exes, and have been trying to get back together with her for years. Never talked about it with my family, but I know that they are aware.
Oh god.
We have this rubber chicken that we hide in and around each other's possessions. I once opened my
You wanna fuck with me? That's what I thought. Go the fuck away.
This is surprisingly wholesome compared to the rest of them. People can relate to the racist dad archetype, but mine is incredibly outspoken. We're not talking KKK and burning brands here. We live in the UK.
Fuck off.
It's not an option. But he's run for council in support of nationalist parties and firmly believes that
Going to fucking die.
Wholesale destruction is to deport anyone who might be foreign. Of course I love my dad, but it's a conflicting sort of
Fuck you.
Can't we deport anyone who
Come on,
might
go.
be foreign?
Go, sit,
I know his
sit.
name is John Smith. He's ginger and pasty as heck. If he was wearing French aftershave, we just can't take the risk. Deport him.
On shoot.
It happened 6.5 years
Fuck
ago
you. Why is there so much dragon breath?
The only people that
So annoying. Good thing I'm a fucking baller with my god apples.
Parents. The rest of the family never gave a crap. At our yearly couple-week-long family reunion, type thing.
Let's go.
It was freaking pathetic and too religious. We're the only part of the family that isn't religious and they know it. That whole thing was just so they could feel good about trying to do something that just made us feel. A couple days later, a card game turned into people talking about whose ashes they have and where they are. Now they act like she never existed and get awkward when she's brought up. That sounds awful. If you want to talk about it, we, the risk dighters, are here to listen. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.
Slap. can't plant the flower. Oh wait, I can plant the flower. Will this work? Let's go. Bye-bye. Let's get it. Wow. So, what have we learned so far? I'm bad at Minecraft usually.
Alright,
Yes.
Haunted Duplex. The prequel. The beginning before the beginning. Alright, so to start out, this story didn't really take place in my haunted duplex. It technically took place in the house I lived in before. Ah, you clickbait little bastard! But it was my first paranormal experience that happened to me, and it took place when I was 7 years old. Now, I have an older sister named Danielle, and on one particular night, she had her friend Amanda stay the night. So it's the middle of the night, my sister and her friend are laying down about to go to sleep. Meanwhile, my 7-year-old ass is knocked out in my room, probably dreaming about Harry and Marv stealing all my Pokemon cards. Now it's the summer, so my sister has a box fan in her room because our broke asses didn't have central air. And while they're laying there trying to go to sleep, the fan keeps turning off by itself. Amanda, you dipwad, stop screwing with the fan. I'm not doing anything. It's doing it by itself. Now again, I wasn't there for this. I was in my room fending off the wet bandits with paint cans and shit. But according to my sister's testimonial, she said the fan started to shake violently. Well, that's not what box fans are supposed to do, so it freaked them the hell out. My sister starts screaming like the goddamn fan's gonna chop her head off. Her screaming wakes me up. Ah, get away from my Charizard, Marv! My dad runs into her room. What's going on? Is the house on fire? Somebody grab all the photo albums. No, it's my fan! It's possessed by the devil! My dad looks over. The fan's purring like a kitten. No problems whatsoever. What are you talking about? I just bought that thing like 6 months ago. It's fine. I'm not crazy. I know what I seen. That thing was shaking like a goddamn chihuahua. Yeah, well, I think you guys are smoking crack. There's nothing wrong with that fan. What do you think, Amanda? Huh? You been
Beef Boss is who we're looking to use. Last time we did this, we did beginner difficulty. And it was actually very challenging to lose every mini game. So why don't we go to the other end of the spectrum here and try master difficulty, which should be easier to lose every mini game. But I have my suspicions that in master difficulty, it's harder to advance on the board, even though it technically shouldn't be. I think there's some shenanigans going on. Since we're gonna play master, I'm gonna look for Matt. Hey, look at Matt, Emma, Yoko. I will let it hit me. Are you kidding me, Emma? Are you kidding me, Emma? Wow, Yoko got it at 0. There's no way I was getting first, but Emma still fucking forgot to hit the button. Oh, nice. You're kidding me. I already didn't come in last on the first minigame. You have got to be kidding me. And we are already on take 2. Alright, what one do you think will go the least far? We're gonna be last to pick. Alright, we'll pick the Chode. Chode don't go far. Yes! That's what I'm talking about. Nice, Beef Boss. We'll stand next to Matt. Come on! Man, I could have got second place not even trying on this one. And look at this. Want to bet it's Beef Boss? Bet you $10 it's Beef Boss. Oh, never mind. Ooh, look at that roll. I think we're going to push someone back. No, we're just going to land on nothing. Alright, we're keeping up with the big boys. Getting last place every minigame. Is that a 1v3? Son of a bitch, Matt. I hate these so much. But I guess I should probably try to lose. Just hit me, Matt. Nice. There we go. If we win, it's their fault. Well, we're not probably not going to win. Matt didn't fuck around with that beach ball. That was a semi-automatic weapon right there. 1. Well, maybe we can fuck Matt up with this tornado. I figured. Alright, we'll go ahead and hide in the corner back here, just like my entire high school career. We will do a pull-up, and that's it. Give me a 2 or a 4. No, not a 1! I'm not gonna fucking win this. I'm just gonna sit on my thumbs. Oh, it's hide and go fucking seek. Oh no. This is gonna be luck-based if I can get this wrong or not. I just gotta guess where they're not. I'm gonna guess the ponies is, because that's an easy one, since they never hide there. We'll check there first. Oh, no, there's no one there. Alright, now it's luck. They're not hiding at the plane. There's no way they're at the plane. Oh, fucking Matt. What are you doing there? Okay, well, how about the boat? Although, boats and hose. What happens if I run out of time? Can I just wait for the time to expire, then I don't even gotta guess? What happens after the time expires? Do I just lose? Oh, I do. I was gonna say I shouldn't guess the boat, because hoes love boats. Alright, now a 1 or a 3? A 5. You motherfucking game. She was the only one behind me. Now I'm really in last place. I need the last place boosts from Oh, Yoko. Oh, Yoko, you Noko. Who to pick? Oh. You fucking bitch! Why did you pick her, not me? Where are we? We're right before the volcano. Well, we're not even getting there. Well, hey, if we get the blue thing, not the red thing. Fuck, we got the red thing. How fucking far back are we going? Oh my god, Beat Boss. We didn't have to go across the boxes. Oh no, there's a chance we can win this. There's a chance that the RNG can make us win this one. Fuck. Who would lose? Who would we follow to lose? I'm going straight. Since they're all going sides, I'm...
Reddit, what secret are you dying to get off your chest? I fricked out the promotional posters of a well-known martial arts film by editing its Wikipedia article with incorrect character names before it came out, and the company in charge of the posters was incompetent enough to use Wikipedia as its source for the names of the characters. Haha, that's kinda amazing. More their fault than yours, I'd say. My son's 39th birthday is next Monday. He's been a gigantic Simpsons fan since the show debuted. I got a custom-made Simpson-themed portrait of him, his wife, and his daughter, plus their 2 dogs, Simpson-fied. They're sitting on the Simpsons couch, and when I showed it to his sister, she freaked out about how good it came out. I simply can't wait to give it to him and see his face. I don't feel close to some people in my life, and I've known them for 10 plus years. Like I don't know what to talk about with them anymore. You know, I'm sure they feel the same way. We don't talk that often. Makes me sad sometimes. I feel like a lonely wolf again. People grow apart some...
42 years, 6 months, and 3 days ago, on the 5th of September, 1977, a space probe was launched from Earth and sent on an endless journey through space. The probe, which was affectionately named Voyager 1, contains a multitude of information regarding humanity, including our language, our art, and, in a more metaphorical way, our souls. Today, the little machine is 22 billion kilometers away from Earth, the furthest reach of our species. Though not a manned vessel, it's still a part of us. Despite its distance, we're still keeping contact with it, and during its journey spanning almost half a century, it has given us an insight into the mysteries of the universe we thought we could only dream about. My own father spent most of his life on the project, and I have since followed in his footsteps. I dreamed about taking over his work even as a 12-year-old kid, and eventually these dreams would land me at NASA's doorstep. Little did I know that only a few years into my work, the one question that has plagued us since the dawn of mankind would be answered, forever changing the course of human history. Are we alone? On the 7th of December 2019, I arrived at the office after having been called in at 4 in the morning. I immediately noticed the panic that had erupted overnight, with my coworkers scurrying around the office, confused, horrified, but seemingly excited about a picture sent from Voyager 1. The monitors that usually displayed little more than numbers and boring graphs now all showed the same singular image, that of a blue planet. I approached one of the screens and studied the photograph. In many ways, the planet resembles Earth, with vast blue oceans and split land masses, but none of the continents were recognizable to me, and the clouds hovering above were red with a vague yellow tint. "Hey Dan, what's this?" I asked my neighboring coworker. At first he barely noticed my presence, too engrossed in his own work as he stared at the screen with a mixture of terror and anticipation. "Hey, what's the picture?" I repeated. "It came from Voyager 1, he said, barely a whisper. It was a ludicrous statement. The last image sent from Voyager 1 had been received in 1990. The famous pale blue dot, an image we posted on the wall of our office for inspiration. Since that fateful day, our engineers turned the camera off to save the probe's memory, assuring we could still receive more valuable data in the future. "Don't be stupid, that's impossible," I said. "They turned the camera off decades ago." Something turned it back on," he said with a shaky voice. His choice of words confused me. Instead of indicating that a person had done it, he said, "Something." "What do you mean? How is that even possible?" "I don't know, but the signal that turned it on came from the planet in the picture. It overrode the system, effectively hijacking the probe." I looked back at the picture, noting its bright surface, an impossible image without a nearby star to light it up. But according to all available data, Voyager 1 should have been several light years away from the nearest star. "The signal came from within the Oort cloud," Dan mumbled. "Excuse me? I know, it's 300 years ahead of schedule. We rechecked it 5 times. It doesn't make any sense." Before I could ask any further questions, my supervisor called me into the main office. There, he showed me the transmission we received from Voyager 1. Apparently, it wasn't just a picture, but a sequence of numbers and codes hidden within the radio signal. "Do you know what it means?" I asked after listening to the mess of sounds about 10 times. "Well, that's why we called you in. We were hoping your father left behind any ideas about his work before he passed away. My dad was a magnificent man, brilliant in his own way, but obsessed with finding the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Throughout the past century, Earth has picked up a multitude of different radio signals, most of them just an after effect from collapsing stars and random background radiation. However, among the mess of noise, several coherent messages have been filtered out from the symphony of the universe. The only problem was that we had no means with which to translate them. My father never could. He could only determine their origin, which fit perfectly with the current location of Voyager 1. Then it dawned on me that the last message coming from Voyager 1 wasn't just another random signal sent from a thus far unknown planet, but a mathematical key that could be used to translate everything we'd received so far. My theory was that the species that had hijacked the probe had used it to understand our language, instructions of sorts. We spent the next few days deciphering the message, desperately looking for the key. It took a lot of sleepless nights and countless amounts of caffeine, but eventually we found the answer. Without hesitation, we applied the decoder to all previous messages originating from the same region. The first one arrived in 1968. Though we had what was essentially an alien dictionary, the language they used contained many foreign concepts, ideas we still don't understand. But what follows is the basics of what we've deciphered so far. December 7th, 1968. Is there anyone out there? March 15th, 2003. Help, help, help. October 23rd, 2010. They are here. September 19th, 2011. We did our best. Sorry. Though the direct messages didn't make much sense on their own, the planet had emitted a continuous signal that seemed to contain a very comprehensive history of their world. As far as we could tell, their species first surfaced 10 million years ago and has reached a level of technology that is so far beyond our own that we can't even begin to understand it. They make no mention of war, but they talked about a defense grid around their system, one that had been ineffective against the threat mentioned on several accounts. The most approximate translation of this threat has been termed the Ludex. Since the last distress signal in 2011, their planet has fallen silent. It was a heartbreaking discovery to finally find intelligent life other than our own, only to have it extinguished immediately. The more horrifying fact, however, was that their demise wasn't one of their own making. No, their end had come at the hands of a far superior species, one able to travel through space only to wage war and destruction. Yet, despite their end, a final message was sent through Voyager 1. One that wasn't calling for help or giving us a detailed history or ideas on how to reach them. Instead, they left us with a final warning, a simple message, and a translation key. All they said was, "You are next." Order our delicious mac and cheese for dinner tonight, with delivery or pickup, only at Panera. PayPal and Venmo touch-free payments, now accepted at CVS stores nationwide. Get a $10 reward when you make a touch. Dad, it's dark outside, Lily said nervously as she tugged at my shirt. Without looking at her, I just scoffed. It's the middle of February. Of course it's dark in the morning. No, that's not what I mean. Just look, she said, pulling my arm. I looked up from my math book and took a peek at the window. It was pitch black, as if the world had simply been erased. Not even a single silhouette greeted us from outside. What the fuck? I muttered a bit too loud, garnering the attention of our teacher. Daniel, what did you just say? Mr. Crawford asked sternly. Outside, it's dark, I stuttered. Mr. Crawford took a look at the window. After a few seconds, his angry face turned to one of total apathy. It's beautiful, he said, without the faintest hint of emotion in his voice. Beautiful? What are you? Lily tried to interject. That's enough. You're going to the principal's office, Mr. Crawford ordered. For what? Don't you see that the world is literally gone? I shouted. You too, principal's office now. He responded, still emotionless. Since the other students kept quiet, we didn't argue any further. Confused and afraid, we made our way to the office. The hallways were dark and quiet. Only a few students were wandering through them, none speaking a single word. A place that was once full of chattering gossip had turned to a graveyard. One of my friends walked by without even greeting me. Hey, Fred, do you know what's going on? He turned to look at me. His face appeared rid of emotion, just like Mr. Crawford. I looked outside. It was beautiful. Then he turned around and left. What the hell is happening? Lily asked with a shaky voice. I don't know. Maybe the principal can help us? I suggested. We knocked on his door and waited to be called in. He told Lily to enter first, and I had to remain outside. While I sat there, another student popped around the corner. It was Marcus, a quiet, athletic senior. Don't go in there, he whispered. It already got him. What do you mean? The dark, it changes people. It already got the principal and most of the teachers. Fuck, Lily just went in there, I said as I got up from my seat, ready to barge inside the office. Forget it, she's done for. You gotta come with me, he said. No, I'm not leaving her. I tried to argue before he grabbed me, but being far larger than myself, he pulled me away with little effort. As he dragged me out of sight, the door to the principal's office opened, and Lily walked out. The principal called my name, but quickly ducked back inside his office once he realized I was gone. Lily, I called out as she walked down the hall, but she didn't respond. Just let her go, Marcus said. I ignored him and ran after Lily. She didn't even seem to recognize me. Instead, she just walked towards the exit. By then, several students had gathered in the hallway, simply staring out the window into the emptiness that lay beyond. Lily, what are you doing? She turned to me for just a second. I'm leaving. With that, she opened the door and walked into the void outside. No sooner had her body touched the darkness before she started falling apart. Her skin dried out and disintegrated, leaving her flesh and organs exposed. She let out a silent sigh and fell apart on the floor. All that remained was a man me from behind and pulled me away from the door. "Don't fucking look outside," he said as he slapped me out of the shock. She's dead, and you'll be too, unless you listen to me. You stare out there for more than a few seconds, it'll get you too. We need to find somewhere safe to hold up until help arrives. "The cafeteria, it's empty this time of day," I suggested, still in shock. Without hesitating, we tried to make our way there. As we turned the corner, we found Mr. Crawford standing in the hallway. As he noticed us passing by, he grabbed Marcus's shoulder and pushed him towards one of the windows. "Just look outside. It's so beautiful," he said with a monotonous voice. "Let me go," Marcus yelled. I tried to pull him from me, but it was too late. He quickly lost all emotion in his voice and joined the others. In the blink of an eye, his consciousness had vanished. In panic, I ran for the cafeteria. Once there, I made a makeshift barricade and collapsed to the floor in despair. I sat there helplessly, mourning the loss of my friends and classmates. All the while, students and teachers kept knocking on the doors, begging me to look outside. "Just look through the window. It's so beautiful." Without a phone to call for help, I can't say how much time has passed. For all I know, it's been months since the world vanished. Food has all but run out or spoiled beyond edibility. These will be my final words, written in a notebook someone left behind. It's time to look outside. Finally, I'll see the beauty of the void. Goodbye.
What was that?
I could barely contain my excitement. After a month of unemployed anxiety and scrambling for rent money, I'd made it to the last round of interviews, and they told me I was very likely to be given the job offer. The final round apparently involved logging into their secure system remotely, and for that, they mailed me a biometric wristlet. When the day came, I ran that package up to my room and pulled the wristlet out. It was heavy and made of some technology I hardly understood, but it came with a little instruction booklet. Clicking it closed, I logged onto their website, then pressed accept on the biometric two-factor authentication that popped up on my device. After a moment, I heard ringing. It was also a phone. Okay, this was cool. A secretary answered after 2 rings. "Hello, how may I direct your call?" "I'm calling for the interview," I said awkwardly loudly to my wrist. Right, I don't have to yell. She either didn't notice or didn't care. "Oh yes, I see your identity information here. I'll route you through. Says here you should not hang up under any circumstances as your credentials are only valid for a single session. Failure to remain on the line will eliminate you from the running." What? I frowned. What if the call drops? Her tone was kind. "Honey, we make the most secure telecommunications in the world. It's not going to drop." Then she returned to her professional voice. "Hold, please." I sat back in my chair as the calm elevator music began to play from my wrist. My heart was pounding, and to my surprise, I could actually see a little pulse indicator in green in the bottom left of the device. I tapped my fingers on my desk, then I sighed a few times. My pulse elevated drastically when the music cut out, but no, it was just starting over. Okay, 10 minutes on hold. Not the biggest hurdle to finally have a job and getting to be a valid member of society once more. I glanced at the clock. 20 minutes. A full half hour. At 40 minutes on hold, I was no longer nervous. I was instead annoyed. I said out loud, "How long is this going to take?" The music continued, but a male voice that sounded around my age replied, hello? I sat up stock straight. "Sorry, have you been waiting for me?" "No," he replied. "I'm on hold for an interview." A woman chimed in. "Me too." A younger male voice asked, "Wait, are we all on hold together?" "It seems we are," said the first man. "Curious. I wonder if this is part of the interview. Why else would they put us all on hold together?" Highly confused, I asked, "Have you all been on hold for over an hour too?" The woman answered, "2 for me." The others reported similar times, and we made guarded small talk, but then ultimately fell silent. We were competitors after all. At about the second hour mark, I began to notice myself sweating. Is anyone else's device putting out a lot of heat? Strangely, the younger male voice on the line sounded a little deeper. "I feel like I'm in a sauna." "Me too," added the other man, who oddly now sounded slightly older than me now. The woman suggested, "Maybe it's like he said, a test, part of the interview." I didn't know what to make of it. I decided to get up to get some ice or a towel to put between my skin and the wrist slit, but I felt rather weak. I tried to stretch my sore joints, and they creaked. Looking in the mirror on my wall, I saw that my face had become slightly sunken, and I watched in horror as a white streak ran up through a lock of my hair. To the others, I asked desperately, "Are these things aging us?" The older man said flatly, "I noticed it a while ago, but I want this job." The woman said bitterly, "I'm getting it. I'll do anything." The younger male voice, now definitely sounding frayed, added, "I'll outlast all of you." I will never be able to forget the internal debate I had in that moment. I actually considered staying on the line and trying to be the last one left. The world had hammered into me that having a prestigious job was everything, and that without it, I was nothing. But what would be the point if I let it drain my life away? Once the decision was made, I moved swiftly. The wristlet wouldn't come off, so I began smashing it against my desk. Ultimately, bleeding, I ran for a set of tools that a friend had lent me, and I hit it repeatedly with a hammer. At long last, it fell off, sizzling the floor as it spilled heat and plastic onto my carpet. Even as the device died, I could still hear them arguing with each other about who would last the longest and be the one to get hired. I managed to get to the doctor the next week, and she couldn't explain it. I'd aged roughly 15 years since my last visit, but I was relieved because I knew it could have been worse. I'd scoured newspapers and found mention of decayed corpses found sitting in their homes in random towns across the world. There had never been any job. I would have spent my life waiting for a system that didn't care about me at all, while I got older and slowly burned alive. Not even that turned me against them, though. I just wanted to be left alone. I only decided to speak out and tell this story once I saw the CEO of that company on television. For a man of 90, he was looking quite spry and young.
My name's Eric, and I am a beginner game designer. What that means is I understand the basics of stuff like Unreal Engine and other tech, but I don't have the funds to put my skills to the test. At least, not fully. I tried different fundraising platforms like Patreon, GoFundMe, and Kickstarter. None of those panned out. I know my ideas are great. I just need money to get them off the ground. If I can just gather some funds, I will be off to the races. That's when I discovered the dark web. A friend of mine told me I could raise money pretty easily there. According to him,
Dr. Nicely.
Space horror story.
Hello, followers. Before we begin, I needed to let you know that the first story in this video is part of an interconnected series of a single universe. If things seem a bit open-ended or misconstruing, this is the reasoning for it. Now, on to the video. back when it first happened. A group of astronomers at Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia were witness to 15 fast radio bursts, or FRBs, from space. The signals came from a galaxy that's far, far away, 3 billion light years to be exact. And though it wasn't the first time the scientists had received FRBs from this location, it was the first time they had received so many of them in such a short amount of time. 5 hours. It was odd, and intriguing, and inspiring.
Boring.
Don't settle for the trips you've always.
Yeah, that scared me a little. God. Hey, is there anything you're looking for now? Question mark. I really want to earn some money.
In 2008, a 4chan user took one of the most fateful dumps in all of human history. Pooped so hard that water splashed back onto his butt cheeks. That splashback upset him so much that he felt compelled to draw a comic and post it, establishing a format that would not just become a popular medium to tell jokes, but also to relay stories from people's everyday lives. Of course, I'm talking about rage comics. Imagine now, if this sudden burst of creativity from a person halfway across the world who just happened to pinch off too fat of a loaf one day had set off a sequence of events that would eventually lead to your life being saved. An unlikely story for sure, but for a friend of one Redditor, a true story. A story with ramifications that will forever affect the rest of his life. For today's episode of Tales from the Internet, we're talking about the man whose cancer was diagnosed by a rage comic. This video is sponsored by Bright Sellers. I like wine, but I don't know a whole lot. Open into my Necronomicon couple several years. I remember a period in time when I would just see the words and make a vein in my forehead pulsate. Yeah, just like that. For some reason, and it feels silly now, but for some reason back then it just infuriated me how this format that started off as a simple way to tell simple jokes turned into this long, drawn-out, pretty boring storytelling format where people are basically just telling you what happened in their day, like it was some kind of a visual diary entry. Like at that point, just tell me what happened. No need to have a bunch of faces next to it. I don't care that a tracing of Yao Ming thought your day was funny. More.
I'll take Motivational Lizard for 100.
Even if they get removed from it, though, it's not.
If you can, within the week, I'll take 100 for Motivational Lizard.
Not so bad.
For Motivational Lizard.
It almost feels like a museum piece. A similar emotion to staring at a badly tiled GeoCities background. Just a mere artifact of our shared online past. But in any case, for the friend of one Reddit user, I have a feeling that Rage Comics would never feel cringe to them ever again. At least not after this happened. Begins with a post by Cabin Poop Deck on November 3rd, 2012, on Reddit's Rage subreddit, or F7U12, retelling a story that happened to her friend in Rage Comic form. Just mail me going through the medicine cabinet, when suddenly I find an unused pregnancy test my ex-GF must have left. For shits and giggles, I use it. A little later, I'm pregnant. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, pregnancy tests, they're made for peons, so, why let it go to waste? Probably just something wrong with it, right? Who knows how long it's been sitting there? Well, the commenters had some other ideas. The top voted response by Godzilla. If this is true, you should check yourself for testicular cancer. Seriously, Google it. This theory was co-signed by several other commenters, including one claiming to be a medical student. Why would testicular cancer show up on a pregnancy test? And it's not like your balls are pregnant with the cancer. Well, here's how these home pregnancy tests work. They detect a hormone called human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG.
If you have a baby growing inside of you, this hormone shows up in your urine. However, there are a small amount of other things that could cause this hormone to show up in your urine, including certain types of testicular cancer. However, that's not the only reason it might show up. And some of those possibilities were also brought up in this thread. For example, steroid usage. Was Captain Poop Deck's friend on that there subject? See, since steroids can shrink your balls, sometimes ACG can be supplemented to help keep them nice and plump. And there's also the possibility that it's worse than testicular cancer. Apparently, this can also be caused by certain types of brain tumors. And I guess that's just how it goes with diagnosing medical stuff online. All roads lead to brain tumors. Alternatively, maybe he just used it wrong. One poster mentioned that a pregnancy test will read positive if you let it sit too long, although another poster responded that this line is different from the one that shows up when you test positive for pregnancy. And this is an occurrence that's been the source of a lot of stress for a lot of women. In any case, Captain Poop Deck would return later after reading these responses. Just to save all the cancer comments, it was my friend that did the test. I just made the comic for him. But I am letting him know to test himself for cancer immediately. Thank you for letting me know, guys. I may have dodged a bullet here. Keep us posted. I just got off the phone with him. He's going to check himself, then go and see a doctor on Monday to be absolutely sure. Kind of weird, people may have or have not discovered cancer through Rage Comic. Monday came and people look graceful for an update, and Poop Deck shows up as promised. Update for everyone. My friend's appointment to get checked will be at 3, and I will be home at a computer at about 5:30. I have my friend's permission to post the result as long as I do not use his name. This is when I will post the results. If the results are very happy to self-post, I will put a URL to another F7U12 in the comments. Please tell me what you want, and I will do so accordingly. Update. Attention everyone, results are here. Thank you for everything, Reddit. So the results are in, given in the form of another Rage comic.
Hey, it's me, your skin. I crave being clear without irritation. CeraVe treats acne and allows me to heal.
Alright, I have an idea. First, I need one of you.
Hello, Reddit. Many of you have read the comic about my friend using a preg test as a joke and it testing positive, which is a sign of cancer, as all of you told us. Today, he went to the doctor to be tested, and in his right testicle they found a very small tumor. But since it was caught early, it could be treated immediately. To be honest with everyone, I assumed it was nothing, considering a pregnancy test finding cancer seemed a bit odd. But I guess there is a hormone the test picks up that the tumor produces, and that is why the test said he was pregnant. Not sure what face to use. I'm sad he might lose a nut, while I'm also amazed the preg test picked up a fucking tumor and happy was caught early all at the same time. So both of us want to say thank you. And, in all seriousness, if you are male, check yourself for testicular cancer regularly. If you're a girl, test yourself for breast cancer regularly. For directions on how to check yourself, please go look online or go to cancerresearchuk.org. Thank you again, Reddit. Namaste. All seriousness aside, this comic honestly is such a perfect look at the problem people are having with Rage comics at this time. Like, you didn't need the faces there. You could have just said this. You could have just wrote it. Granted, in this context, it makes sense because it started as a Rage comic thing on the Rage comic forum, but there are so many like this that didn't have that context. But I digress because that's kind of besides the point. We've got not necessarily a happy ending. I mean, ideally there's no cancer, but testicular cancer is super treatable when caught, and thankfully it got caught because of this thread. A bunch of news outlets pick up the story, and Reddit celebrates a little, and you would think this would be the end of the story, but something raised my eyebrow when I was looking at this thread for this video. I found it kind of strange that Captain Poop Deck's account was deleted, but I mean 9 years had passed. People delete accounts for all kinds of reasons. You know, maybe she just got tired or nuked it for a job or who knows what. But then I realized looking through the archive that the account had gotten deleted really quickly after this post. So something was telling me that shit got weird. So I looked back through her thread and oh yeah, shit got weird. At first, she's mostly just expressing that she's concerned for her friend who is understandably scared about this diagnosis. No matter how treatable it is, it's scary. He's worried that he's going to lose a ball and girls won't like him anymore. He'll never get laid again. Which, I mean, if anything, having one ball, that's just an excuse to get people to look at your fucking balls. But I mean, she starts to think that she doesn't want to get so much attention to this post that she tells people, hey, stop spreading this post around. Don't upload it anymore or anything. But it's too late. It's already on the front page. And more news outlets are covering this, which also became a problem. Edit, I've been being nice about this, but can all the reporters back the fuck off? I'm trying my best to be there for my friend to keep him out of the blues, but it's difficult with dozens of goddamn reporters demanding we talk about it. We've spoken to enough. There are enough stories about it. It is so stressful to talk to reporters about this every day. He's already stressed about the cancer itself as it is, and the reporters asking questions about it just adds tremendously to it. And we just want to be left in peace so we can get him through this smoothly and as stresslessly as possible. So please,
I need to go through the Ender portal to write the chords so I can go to the
so they start demanding her prove that her friend has cancer, to which she responds, how the fuck do I prove he has cancer? I can't send his name out in the comments, and it's not like a picture of his sac will show anything. I mean, with a lot of these cases, you really can't prove it without doxing a person who doesn't want to be doxed. She could post something hiding the info, but then people would just say that was fake. And after she already got the news from how she approached him about giving her something else to show to Reddit. Hey dude, I know you're worried about your cancer diagnosis, but could you take a moment to send me your paperwork? Yeah, I know. Some people on Reddit don't believe you have cancer, so, the people aren't satisfied. They gotta know that the heartwarming, feel-good story about online happenstance is a real story. And they didn't feel good for fake reasons. Make me feel good. Already got 6 private messages from people telling me I'm a liar about my friend when I'm not lying. It takes a fucked up attention whore to lie about this. And I don't want people to think I'm one of those kinds of people. Honestly, I kind of want to delete this whole thread altogether. I'm not enjoying getting yelled at. I've had a shitty enough day with him getting checked and all. Frowny face. She asked the Reddit mods if they could remove the karma from her account so people know that this isn't all about fake internet points to her. But they can't because that's not how the website works. And there were plenty of support and people telling her that she's kind of getting invested in scamming attention. And ultimately she should keep the thread up because ultimately it's good for the friend to be around so people don't think, oh, check that. So she got a few back and forth posts with people telling her not to take the Reddit stuff too seriously. She did her own thing, and ultimately, shortly after all this, it appears that that's when she deletes her whole account. Being on Reddit can silly meme in that format go on to become a life-saving cancer diagnosis, then go on to being an outraged college person that causes someone to delete their whole fucking account. But in any case, I think it's safe to say that this is the only time in all of recorded human history that rage comic will be the solution to, rather than the cause of cancer. Anyway, that's all for now. If you like this video, check out my video about the disastrous Woody Harrelson AMA about random.
That's difficult to mute for me.
Vacation rental, cabin, castle, or chalet, kayak.
Go to what you want. Shut the fuck up. Okay, we need to write down these chords, then go 1,000 blocks back.
Good.
Okay, let's write down these chords.
My name is Ben, and my friend killed himself. The worst part is that I am responsible for his death. I can still see myself walking up to our apartment door, twirling my keys without a care in the world, not knowing the nightmare I was about to walk in on. The whole scene plays out in my mind now, over and over. I walk in, and I see him there dangling from the ceiling fan by a rope. It seems impossible that the rope doesn't break from the fan. It's more freaky to look into my friend's dead eyes as he is hanging there. The chair he was standing on is toppled over, and behind him, I can see his webcam with a blinking red light. He recorded the entire thing. I stumble over to where he is at and try to help him down. His dead weight falls from the fan and tumbles onto the floor. His skull makes a sickening sound as it bangs off the floor. I feel transfixed looking at his rigid corpse, trying to understand why my best friend would be so selfish and cruel to end his own life. Then a soft beat pulls me back to reality. The webcam is making a soft noise, a reminder that it was still filming. Did I want to actually see a suicide? Was there something in that footage that would explain why he had done this? A soft ping shook my memory away, and I looked at the computer screen. I walked closer and noticed there was a notification on the screen. It was a notification to join a chat room. Curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked on it. A chat screen opened. It wasn't like a usual chat screen. It was a black box, almost like a command prompt box. At the top of the box, there was a section that said Users. Under Users, there were 2 people listed in the chat room. I was one of them. My name was Ben. The username of the other guy was obviously a fake one. It read Anonymous53. Whoever this was, he definitely didn't want to make himself known. I typed in the chat, "Hello, who is this? Who I am isn't important. What matters is who you are and what you have done," the man responded. I knew he was trying to frighten me. I didn't have anything to hide. "Is this about Marcus?" I asked. I knew it had to be, but I wanted to confirm. "It's about crimes and punishments," the guy said. "What do you mean by crimes and punishments?" I asked. "You killed Marcus. That is first-degree murder, and the punishment is life in prison or death," he typed back. "You are insane. I didn't kill him. He killed himself," I typed back in a fury. He replied, "You indeed killed Marcus. How can you make such an accusation? What proof would you even have?" I typed back. He attached
You never want to fucking say that. What proof do you have? Just fucking leave.
an image. It was a text
God.
conversation between
Too
Marcus
much
and I.
God here.
The blood from my face drained. It was a conversation I regretted ever having. It read, "Hey man, do you think I could join you at the party this Saturday night?" I replied, "No man, I don't think that would be a good idea." "And why would that be?" Marcus asked. "Well, you just sit in your room all day and play video games, and you are a bit awkward around the ladies, Marcus. If anything weird happens, I will be the one to blame for inviting you," I said back. "Man, that is harsh, Ben. You really think that of me? We have been friends all these years. We used to play Halo together. Remember that, Ben? We used to grind late at night on new accounts to get them to level 50, and then we would sell them," he replied. "Yes, Marcus. Of course I remember those days. But I grew out of the video game phase, and you are still deep in it. You're still my good friend, Marcus. You just have to understand that I have a life now. And you are still socially awkward," I said in the conversation. "What do you mean socially awkward, Ben?" Marcus asked. "Come on, Marcus. I really don't want to go through this with you." "No. Lay it straight on me, Ben. Tell me how you really feel," he said. "Last time I invited you out, one of the guys told the hottest girl there to talk to you. All she did was say, 'Hey,' and you just stood there frozen. No words came out of your mouth. Everyone just started laughing, and you bolted from the party. I mean, you're my good friend and all, but that situation ruined my reputation and credibility. It took forever to get it back, and I just don't want to have any future incidents," I said. "That hits hard, man. I see how it is. You picked the cool crowd over me. Have fun being a fake douche and trying to fit in with them." That was the last thing Marcus said to me. I was speechless. How did this random guy have access to my text messages? The screen transitioned back to my conversation with Anonymous53. I typed back, "How the hell do you even access my messages?" "My team and I have our ways," he replied. "What do you mean you guys have your ways?" I asked. "We control the dark part of the internet, the side of the internet that no one really knows about. When you see a picture of an iceberg, only 10% of it is actually above the surface, and the other 90% is below the water. The internet is only 10% of what you see. We observe and control the other 90%.
Oh fuck, I completely
The access
forgot that
we
I
have to
had
information
my
will
camera
make your
on.
head spin. We do our best to fix things that are wrong in society. Think of us as your modern-day Robin Hood," he said. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I want the same thing that happened to Marcus to happen to you." My stomach dropped to the floor. My hands started to shake. Why would you want that?" I asked. jerk to him. But I did not help him on the chair, and I never tied a string around his neck. I certainly didn't help him jump off the chair to his death. He didn't reply right away like he usually did.
Some of us take freshness very seriously. That's why everything at Ralph's comes guaranteed fresh.
Get the Amazon app and shop on the go. Track your package and get 24/7 support. Download the app now and start shopping.
Now I was getting angry. My hands were shaking in rage. I knew I needed to stop talking to this jerk and call the police immediately to report Marcus's body. Something in me just couldn't stop talking to this guy. He finally responded. Ben, you indeed killed Marcus. Your actions sent him over the edge. You were the one to blame. Screw you. I did not kill Marcus. You are just a lowly hacker. You do not intimidate me. I am not a lowly hacker, Ben. I am anonymous. We do not forgive, and we do not forget. You will do as I say, or your life will be much harder, he replied. And what do you want me to do? I asked. I already told you. You need to kill yourself, just as Marcus did, he replied. You're a joke. I am not doing that. I figured you'd say that. Why don't you go ahead and take a look at the video footage? I think that will change your mind. All of a sudden, the video loaded on the screen. It was Marcus from earlier that day. He did.
So, question mark, there's nothing you can do about it.
Look well. He stared aimlessly at the wall with a blank expression across his face.
I guess you could take your first one, comma, and swap out the heads or something if you wanted to.
He started to.
Like you take the two that you have and then put the parts that you like and don't like on one another.
Pace back and forth across the room. All of a sudden, he went out of the screen into another room and returned with a chair. He placed the chair underneath the fan. He left the screen for a few seconds and returned with some rope. He began tying the rope around the fan into a loop. My jaw dropped to the floor. I suddenly came into the video. I was wearing the same clothes I have on right now. Everything looked so real. How is this possible, I thought to myself. As Marcus stood up on the chair, I was right behind him. My hands were positioned behind Marcus to make it look like I was helping him onto the chair. As Marcus leaned into the noose, my hand guided him from behind. My stomach dropped. Anonymous 53 had deep-faked me into the video to make it look like I helped Marcus commit suicide. I felt like passing out. This was all too much for me to handle. A real voice sounded from my computer.
What are you going to do, Ben? You better act quick.
The cops are already on their way. We already sent them the video. In the distance, I started to hear sirens. The sirens got louder and louder. I looked outside.
Well, you can't expect it to be frickin' perfect.
My window.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with some of their figures, but at least they're doing better.
To my horror, police cars lined up.
And also, you're nitpicking, comma, it's not going to be 100% perfect.
The street. I knew.
I know I'm being a little bit rude, but you're basically bashing the company for not making yours specifically perfect.
I had to do. There was no getting out of this.
Bro, I have a entire set of the Misfits. I can literally look at one and tell you a problem with it. They did have problems. Maybe the problems are bigger now because they have to mass produce it like 10 times.
Stepped over Marcus's body and got on the chair. I took one.
But like Fitz's feet are trying to fall off, comma, Swagger's head is scratched. I can keep going. It's not a new problem. Comma, if you really hate it, just don't buy from them anymore.
And jumped into the rope. Everything went black. Thanks for watching. You can watch another scary. The trigger of the plastic gun that was attached to the machine. No one paid any attention to me. People were glued glued to other machines, and others were too busy in the back rooms gambling. I found the place on the dark web, a shady, out-of-the-way arcade that no one knew about where dangerous games were played, or so the ad said. Every afternoon, I would come and test the limits of this simple shooting gallery. It was my little escape from reality. I figured that despite how I had found the place, it seemed perfectly harmless. Appearances, I guess, were deceiving. The game itself was pretty straightforward. There are Among Us characters that randomly pop up in front of you. The goal of the game is to shoot the characters before they duck back into the machine. The more characters you can hit within the allotted time, the higher your score is. Aim and shoot, rack up the high score. Every correct hit gives you about 500 points along with a loud ding sound. No matter how many times I played, or how hard I tried, I couldn't beat the high score. Today was going to be different though. I could feel it in my bones. Gradually my score climbed as I shot the characters. My score kept increasing. I'm close to actually beating this, I thought to myself. A few of the other gamers around the arcade started to take notice. I noticed myself beginning to sweat. It's finally happening. I aimed the gun one more time and took out the last character. Suddenly the music rose to a crescendo and the entire machine lit up. The screen went black and I panicked. Did I do something wrong? Then a moment later, a single word takes up the entire screen. Congratulations. Suddenly I mattered to everyone around me. I heard a few cheers of approval and I stepped away from the game. I had worked months to beat that score. Having it actually happen felt surreal to me. I enjoyed every minute of it. As I stood there marveling at my accomplishment, I felt a cold hand hit the back of my shoulder. I turned to see the arcade manager standing there. He was wearing a beige blazer with golden buttons and a wave of cigar smoke swirled around his head. His skin tone was about as bland as the characters from the game. This was unsettling to me. Well, well, what a surprise. You certainly have a knack for those kinds of things, don't you, son? He said as he encouragingly patted me on the back. Just a hobby, I said softly. Something about him gave me a weird vibe. Every time he chuckled, his belly fat jiggled. He reminded me of a worse version of my lazy father. Someone who always had money, but never appreciated it. To my surprise, though, the manager made me an offer. Listen, son, I can tell that you want to take this to the next level. So here's what we can do. Come here to the arcade on Friday night after closing. Ask for Arthur. He can show you something I think you will go crazy.
Why am I dying? Why am I dying? Why am I dying?
He passed me a business card which had the normal name of the arcade.
God damn it, why did I throw
and
water
replaced
down?
by what looked like Norse runes.
Jesus,
I
where
told him I would
am
think
I?
about it and walked home. A few days passed, and it was Friday night. Truth be told, I knew something about this was wrong. Meeting a complete stranger at an old grimy arcade with no one around was a huge red flag. But I loved the evening, and I loved playing shooting games even more. So I went. When I parked my bike outside the building, I couldn't help but to feel a sinister air about the place. I had never come here so late. It gave me a very bad vibe. But it didn't deter me from going towards the darkness. The place definitely looked deserted, with a metallic grating in front of the door and all the lights off.
We need
But
resources.
as I approached,
But why was I on fire?
Is
there fucking lava?
Are you
Lava,
Arthur?
lava.
I
No,
asked
there's no
softly
lava.
as I
Why?
showed him the business card. And then he unlatched the door and ushered me inside the empty arcade. I felt like I was a kid being led into the candy store after hours. All the machines were available to me, and I could play any of them. But Arthur turned my attention.
Yeah, I understand, I get so annoyed when I notice something on a figure and I can never unsee it.
Toward the
Also, like I said, if it's really that bad, just take a
back door.
put some pieces like the head and arms onto another sapnap and then make it like a Frankenstein one.
And instructed me to
Personally, I wouldn't, but if it's bugging you that much.
follow. It was a dark stairwell that led to the basement of the building.
Right.
Willingly, I followed to another even darker room, waiting for my next assignment. In the middle of the room, a series of lights came on, and I saw what looked like a virtual simulation headset hooked up to a massive chair.
Yeah, like I said, I'll be able to buy it in a week, hopefully.
was large enough for a man 3 times my size. You've been wanting something a little more challenging, correct? Arthur asked as he pointed toward the headset. This will be unlike any normal game you have ever experienced. I hesitated to place it on. Virtual reality has always given me a headache, and I had a feeling this would be no different. But the way Arthur was looking at me told me that no wasn't an answer. As I sat down in the chair and placed the headset on, I tried my best to get comfortable. The entire world suddenly felt very dark and cold. I felt a cold metallic surface hit my hands, what I assumed was my game weapon. And then the simulation began. At first there was nothing, an endless landscape of stars that filled the screen. Then the room filled in with gray colors, and an occasional computerized version of a window or a corridor. Then the whole room rendered. I realized immediately that this was a virtual 3D presentation of the video game Among Us. How do you get all this accurate info about Among Us? I asked out loud as I guided my character to the center of the map. I didn't hear any response from Arthur, and brought my attention back to the game. A display on the right side of my head told me that I was the imposter, and that 6 crew members remained. I met them a short time later in the galley, all wearing jumpsuits, and I introduced myself. There was no response, and I briefly wondered if the other characters were just computer bots, or people playing in VR somewhere else. You would be surprised what you can accomplish with tech on the dark web. Now go kill the other players, Arthur's voice shouted into my headset. I squeezed my weapon and waited, watching as the other players ran to hide. I ran through the simulated hall searching for blood. I figured it had to be about as straightforward as the arcade version. Aim and shoot. Easy. As the imposter, my job would be to eliminate the others and not get caught. I saw a white suit run in front of me. I drew my gun and aimed down the sights. A moment later, he was dead, and his virtual head was covering my visor. There was something unsettling about the way he screamed, though. It sounded almost real. I convinced myself it was just the authentic feel of a virtual experience and kept hunting. Every step I took, I could feel my heart beating faster. The virtual world was dazzling to explore, and I knew an enemy could be lurking anywhere. Blue was next. I aimed high because he was taller. The bullet went straight through his skull. He jerked and fell to the floor. Honestly, it shocked me how realistic everything seemed. Amid the broken glass of Blue's helmet, I saw green, human-like eyes. It didn't look simulated. His body looked exactly like a real person. That can't be possible, I told myself as I took his weapons and ran to hide. 2 other opponents came from around the corner. I found a place to hide and listened to their conversation. I'm beginning to think this is not a game, Red Suit said. Yeah, I don't think this is a game either. We definitely got drugged and put in these suits, Yellow Suit replied. What are they talking about? I thought to myself. That's exactly what I think. And this suit feels like a cage. It is impossible to take off. How do you think we got here? Red asked. All I remember was pulling up to an old rundown warehouse. I came there for a job interview, Yellow replied. Red said, I don't think the guy in the green suit realizes what is going on. We might have to take him out to make it out of this place alive. My stomach dropped. I realized they were talking about me. There he is. I see him, Red said. I panicked and aimed at them. I sprayed them full of bullets, but Yellow somehow managed to aim at me and fire. The bullet pierced me right in the shoulder. I realized I could feel it. For real. This wasn't just a simulation, I realized, as I started to run. They were right on my heels as I felt my heart begin to beat right out of my chest. I could hear myself breathing harder as I dropped the weapon and struggled to take off the headset. It wouldn't budge. Is something the matter? Aren't you enjoying the game? Arthur's voice chimed in. This is real. You're hurting real people, I said desperately as I crawled under a table and tried to catch my breath. Every move I made in the virtual world was being mimicked somewhere in real life. I felt a knife at my back and I froze. But it wasn't from the game. Don't move, the voice whispered. I obeyed and waited as I felt them cut something at the back of my neck.
Well, don't push on it. If you really want, I'll buy that one, but it would be significant. I would pay significantly less. Don't you fucking dare climb this staircase, you will die. So what do you want to do? If I buy that one, I would only buy it for like 20. If you sell me the one that you're currently selling, I'll still buy it for the same price. I'm going more. We're going so freaking high. You want to see some real speed? Oh, this is actually perfect. Mining into the ceiling is 10 times. It would be 10 times faster than this. You want to see some real speed? I don't think we're really changing all that much. Okay, we're finally at 69.
A second later, the simulation ended, and I was staring into the face of a blonde girl. What? What about the...
Cool, comma, why are you telling me this? Question mark.
The others? I asked anxiously. We need to get out of here, she instructed. I didn't hesitate to listen and jumped from the chair to leave the basement. I didn't see Arthur anywhere. Up at the main arcade, I felt a wave of relief wash over me and asked, "Who are you? How did you find me?" Then she pointed a gun straight at my head. "It's nothing personal. I just need to get into the game." She slammed the base of the weapon against my forehead, knocking me unconscious. I woke up in the back of a police cruiser handcuffed. The entire shady arcade was now being quarantined with police tape. I saw the same blonde girl working the homicide scene. The cop in the driver's seat started talking. "We've been watching this place for a few months now. Lots of victims get caught up in this game without knowing it. Lucky for us, you logged online the first time. You didn't do it discreetly, and led us right to it." My mouth felt dry as I realized I was likely responsible for a dozen deaths because of the arcade. I didn't know it was...
Yeah, I would buy for 20 because you said that there's multiple problems with the other one.
Unreal.
And I don't know what that means, comma, so is that a no, like, charging more? Like, how much would you sell the one that has a bunch of problems with it for, customer?
On it as medical examiners brought the victims out of the basement. One was wearing a blue jumpsuit. It was the man I killed. I recognized his stained cigarette teeth immediately. The arcade owner. But if he was the victim, who was running the game? I wondered. Then I remembered Arthur. "Have you arrested my employee from the arcade?" I asked the cop. He gave me a hard look. "You're joking, right? When we came back to lock this place down, the whole building was already empty. Someone knew we were coming. Whatever they were up to, they've taken their business elsewhere." I knew it wouldn't take much for another similar advertisement to pop up. I looked at the body bags and swallowed a gulp of air. I don't think I will play a game off the dark web again. You want to join the frat house? Then you need to pass the hazing. I thought that maybe I was going to have to drink a whole gallon of milk or go streak naked across the girls' dormitory. But instead, the college jocks of Sigma Beta Phi had a different idea for my initiation ceremony. "There's a database on campus of all the bad shit they've caught us doing. Your job is to hack into it and delete it. Give us a clean slate." Maxwell, the frat house leader, told me. I I regretted bragging about my computer prowess now, because I knew that the college likely had better firewall security than any of the other intranets I had managed to bypass in the past. Still, I wanted this, so I agreed and got to work immediately. I had only 24 hours to finish the task, so of course I stayed up late trying to figure out the different encryptions. By 3:30 a.m., I was running on fumes, hardly thinking straight. And then somehow, I cracked the encryption. I was in. The firewall was down, and I could see every single file the school had on all of their students. Initially, I was so excited I almost texted Maxwell the good news. Then I had second thoughts. He had practically threatened me to find and purge this information. So what did they have on him? Could I blackmail him to give me a better position in their social hierarchy? I typed in his full name under the search bar and found a slew of security footage for him, each with a timestamp and date. This was definitely the jackpot. I opened up the most recent file and watched eagerly, hoping it would be exactly what I needed to settle the score. Instead,
Didn't I say I would buy for 58 free shipping, customer?
I saw a group of figures on the college grounds, all dressed in blood-red cloaks,
I meant question mark, not customer.
circling what looked like a naked girl in the middle of a field. I suddenly...
And I said I would buy the one that you don't like that you got just now. I would just want to buy it for cheaper.
realized that they were chanting. Then they started to cut their wrists to draw blood and paint some kind of symbol on the ground. Maxwell threw his hood back and told the others, "Our sacrifice begins tonight. Join me in prayer, brethren," he ordered. They all started to stab the comatose girl over and over again. I logged out immediately and felt a sick and awful lump at the bottom of my throat. This wasn't a frat house. It was a cult. Frantically, I tried to think of what to do. My only option would be to distribute these videos across the web. I know how to access the most remote corners of the internet, where stuff like this can spread like wildfire. So I logged back on the web black market. Cult videos are hot right now, so this should definitely bring a pretty penny, he said. I don't care about the money. I just want to make sure they can't hurt me. Call it leverage, I told the seller. He insisted on wiring payment to me anyway, and I'll be honest, I was so sleep deprived I agreed to anything just to end the conversation.
Fuck off.
Afterward, I crashed until the next morning. When I did wake up, I checked the database again and found that all of it had been wiped clean. I initially thought it must have just been my brain fog conjuring up the whole thing. Then I saw two emails. One from the seller thanking me for the videos, and another from the vice principal's office requesting my presence. I swallowed another big lump and hurried over there immediately. "Is everything all right?" I asked meekly as I entered the office. They didn't say a word. Instead, they turned their monitor around and showed me the same disgusting ritual I had seen the night before. Except this time, instead of seeing Maxwell's face, I saw my own. "I've already contacted the police. Consider packing your things and understand you will be expelled from our institution," she said grimly. I was in a wave of confusion and shock, knowing Maxwell had set me up. I just wasn't sure how until I returned to my dorm room and checked my own email again. Deep fakes are actually more popular now than anything. All of a sudden, the world displayed across my computer screen. It was Earth, but the view was from space. A red box appeared on my screen that surrounded Earth. Text flashed across the screen. It read, "Target acquired." My heart fell through the ground. Who was targeting Earth? Could it be another country? Maybe Russia? An alien race, possibly? Who would want to destroy the whole Earth? Cold sweat ran down my neck as I retracted how I even got here. As a cybersecurity analyst, I never considered my job of any importance. My work days were rather mundane. I mostly dealt with small companies and big contracts. My horrifying ordeal all started when I traveled to downtown Chicago for work. My task was to enhance a company's cybersecurity system. I finished up the job and left the building. While walking back to my car, a dark van with tinted windows pulled up. The side door opened and three men dressed in all black yanked me in.
Oh, okay, but what do you say to my offer about the really bad SACnet?
A bag was draped over my head, and I felt the cold barrel of a gun shoved against save all of us. Me? How could I possibly do that? I replied. One of the officers motioned for me to follow him. He led me to a confined room within the hangar. It contained a massive server tower and a few computers inside. There is a threat out there, and we are attempting to locate it. Your skills may prove useful, so what do you say? Do you want to help us? He asked. I knew I probably didn't have a choice in this matter. If I refused, they would likely force me to do their dirty work anyways. I played along and replied, yes, I would love to be of assistance. The officer filled me in on the details. We had recently detected signals across the internet, which seemed to be coming from a source other than our planet. At first, we thought maybe these were random signals that couldn't be properly triangulated. However, after a deeper search was made, we discovered that none of them seemed to have any of the same type of coding that we use here. All the messages seem to be originating from one particular dark website. We aren't entirely sure if these are extraterrestrial messages, but we want to be open to the possibility just in case. You're telling me aliens might be using the dark web to send us signals? I asked. The officer responded, that possibility is still on the table. We will provide all the intel we have gathered thus far. Perhaps you can track down the source from there. The officer gave me a handful of encrypted messages and their source code along with the website's URL. I was fascinated by the complex algorithms used to encrypt these messages. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. It took almost all night, but I did manage to break through. Their decrypted messages shocked me. It seemed to be a conversation between three people or beings. The usernames were A12, X53, and C2. These were most certainly code names. X53 started the conversation by saying, we need to eliminate them. A12 replied, no, we put them on this planet for a reason. Much of their technology has also proven useful for us. They are also in the process of building advanced artificial intelligence systems. They are on track to merge with machines like our civilization did 300 years ago. Once they completely merge with AI, we can reveal ourselves to them and fix their planetary problems. C2 jumped in. I agree with X53. The human experiment was on a good track, but their evil tendencies will be their downfall, and they could actually harm us with artificial intelligence. A12 replied,
I have never seen them get angry at anyone, but, only do it if you're very certain they would believe you.
If an evil country develops a sentient AI, we already put in the proper protocols to stop it. Humans have a unique perspective, and they could be useful in helping us figure out the questions of the universe and even know what to make of the messages. I decided to go to the dark website link where these messages were originally extracted from. The link brought me to a dark screen. All of a sudden, a video feed of our planet popped up. Above the video feed was the same strange code as before, but my algorithm translated it almost instantly. Target acquired, and read above the video. This had to be a bad dream, but it only got worse from there. Within the source code, I found logs of missiles with trajectory calculations for major capitals, not just in our country, but all around the world. Then, to my utter shock,
We'll get to Elytra Wings later. I'm gonna stop streaming.
Typing in plain English. It was X53. My stomach churned. You've shown exceptional skills for one of your kind, he typed. What do you want with us? I dared to ask. His response made me shudder. Your planet is not suitable for life. Your kind do not deserve it. Therefore, it has been scheduled for destruction in 70 years, he told me. There are billions of people here. They'll all die, I anxiously typed back.
I'm sorry guys, I'm just not right now in the mood to finish the Elytra Wings.
Frustrated, but I felt like